Can you guys hear us now?
I can hear you now. Hi, everyone. This is Jose Luis Cáceres. I see my slide up, but I haven't heard an introduction yet.
We can hear you now. Just give us one more second because it's the volume
low. Shan's turning the volume up so we can hear you.
Try one more time, Jose Luis.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
It's still not coming across.
I'm going to contact IT real quick. It's coming from my laptop, but not our overhead speakers.
Crazy. You would think that would happen now. Well, just look for this policy.
Can you hit portable speakers? Ask Josie for portable speakers, please.
You want to hear me now?
Hello?
Hello? Shannon?
I don't remember that.
Basically roll in the little projector and roll and set them up in the classrooms.
I wouldn't know about the class.
Story.
Yeah. I became a kid in my 20s.
I always liked the film days when I was fall asleep.
They essentially didn't have anything for you to do, so they put on like a TV show or something.
You know,
And it doesn't even relate to the subject. Like they put on a cooking show for you and you're in history class.
Yeah.
Jose Luis, can you try again, please?
Yeah, I hear an echo over at your end. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, thank you. No.
Are you just waiting on my items?
Yeah,
Hear us now.
we're still waiting.
Computer or it's
I think this needs to be muted. Did you mute your thing? Try it. Okay. Where's your mouse? Needs to be muted. Right there. I can too. I'm gonna mute it.
Hello?
Hey, that's the first time I heard it without an echo. That sounds great.
Yeah. So we're ready to go, Shannon? Just one more second, Jose Luis, get a nod from her. You're good, Jose Luis. Please proceed.
Hello, everyone. Jose Luis Cáceres. I'm your Director of Programming and Program Delivery. I have 2 items I'll be presenting that both deal with a program called the Local Partnership Program. These items have already been acted on by our policy board, but we wanted to bring these for the benefit of your information and that benefit. This first one is the Local Partnership Competitive Program, and this is for discussion. For the competitive program, it was a question for our policy board of picking a nomination priority. Next slide. So the actions that were taken by the policy board were to nominate in priority order. And I'll pause here. I like to just come out and say what was done and what the item's about, and then I'll go ahead and give the background. So don't worry if this doesn't totally make sense. But in priority order, the policy board voted to prioritize for LPP competitive, the Local Partnership Program competitive, the 7th Street Bridge in the county of Stanislaus, and the Modesto and Siri stations, where the lead agency is the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission. Next slide. So a little bit of background. Oh, I'm reading that my speakers and mic are off. Excuse me. Chat. No. Can everyone hear me all right? I saw something pop up and now I can't verify.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jose.
Okay. Looks maybe artificial intelligence popped in to say something. I don't know. Well, as I was saying, so a little bit of background. I know this is another acronym to learn if you haven't learned it already. The Local Partnership Competitive Program. This is separate from the Local Partnership Formulaic Program. It has 195 million statewide available every couple of years for competitive selection. Now, we get this money because we're special. STANCOG has a voter approved, sorry, we don't get this money. We get to compete for this money because we are special. Stanislaus County and the cities within, we have a voter approved tax, a sales tax, Measure L, that is dedicated to transportation. That puts us in a club of other self-help counties. Our region has this special fund that we get to compete for that no one else gets to. We don't have to be the ones to be the lead agency for it. We can nominate other projects for others to implement. And then if we nominate more than one project, then we have to prioritize those nominations. Applications for this program were due November 20th. So we had to act back in October, November to set those priorities so that we could apply. Next slide. So how to decide which projects? I wanted to go over our methodology, how we picked the best projects. Next slide. So just a quick bit of research, actually not a quick bit of research. We did some research, and in past funding rounds, going back to 18, the most recent one is in 2022, we applied for 25 million for the North County Corridor project. Excuse me. It was not funded. It was not successful. The year before that, or the cycle before that, we applied for McHenry. That was funded for 2 million. And the cycle before that was 2018, in which we applied for the State Route 99 Volkerth interchange for 3 million. And that was funded. What all these projects had in common was that they were all our top rated projects in our strategic plan, our Measure L strategic plan. That document is our guiding document for our region for prioritizing projects for this program. Next slide. Our other guiding light is we want to prioritize projects that'll win, right? The North County Corridor project did not win. And I don't know exactly what happened with that, but we do know from the guidelines what sort of projects get high scores and high rankings. So a little bit from the guidelines, if you're going to apply for LPP competitive, you're going to have one-to-one match between local, federal, and some sources of state funds. The project has to be shovel ready. It can't be something that you're planning on doing sometime in the future. You have to have a committed, solid funding plan. The max request is 25 million. And if you ask for that 25 million, it's a bold move. Then all funding needs to be secured by July 2027, which is just right around the corner. So really the guidelines are meant for a project that already has kind of all of its money secured, just needs a little bit more to get over the finish line. Now the candidates that we have, we went through the Measure L strategic plan. We looked through our federal transportation improvement program and projects from our recent funding rounds to find projects that meet our priorities and also meet these guidelines. Next slide. Now, based on those candidates, we went through, and I should say right off the bat, if SR 132 was ready, it would have been a good candidate. State Route 132 is still in the middle of right of way. It's going to be a little bit before construction and it does not have all its funding. So that really leaves, and then there's really no other Measure L strategic plan projects that are ready for this kind of money. They're either under construction like North County Corridor or pretty far out in the future. Really a project that is fully funded or practically fully funded that's just about ready to go is the 7th Street Bridge. It has 117 million total project cost. It's a joint project between the city of Modesto and the county. It's regionally important, has big, it scores big on safety and mobility. It is, like I said, shovel ready. Of that 117 million, about 80% of that is federally funded, and that those federal funds can be used to leverage the LPP competitive. What's neat about this is if this project is successful for LPP competitive, it would actually free up local Measure L funds that the county and city were going to use so that they could use those funds on other maintenance and rehabilitation projects. So this is sort of a Measure L priority. Next slide. So there's also the Modesto and Siri stations. We don't think of them as being $120 million, but they are. They're not just buildings, it's the railroad improvements to make those stations work for passenger rail. 119 million was the cost for those. Also scoring high on regional and interregional importance. Also very much ready to go. Also have most of their funding secured. High scores for air quality and mobility. Like I said, shovel ready and 90% funded. Next slide. These were the two projects that we took to the policy board and management finance committee and the TAC. The STAC, I believe, didn't meet during that time, so we weren't able to present this to the STAC. So some updates since that policy board action. The two project sponsors cooperated together to bring their combined request to under 25 million. Before at the time, we knew that these were priorities, but we didn't quite know how much they were going to be requesting. We had them, it was our advice for them to bring it under 25 because no county ever has received more than 25 million in an LPP competitive cycle. In reducing the requests, the Rail Commission ended up only requesting funding for the Modesto station. To do both stations, they actually needed something closer to 40 million. Next slide. So I can't see anyone's faces, so I'll take questions, but maybe we could take the slides down so I can see the room. I don't see the policy board room.
Does the committee members have any questions? I have a question. What's the next steps? So I understand that the policy board approved this, and so what happens next?
So the immediate next step after we prioritized this was the sponsors both applied. Oh, hi, I see you. They had consulting support and they got their applications in time. We actually submitted those applications and signed for them because we are the kind of designated applicant for these two projects. We are now waiting for CTC review and I didn't actually bring the date in which we expect to have the CTC recommendation, but I believe that's in the staff report. If someone else has that staff report handy, that would be great. Okay, I've got it up now. The CTC is going to adopt those projects in June 2025. So right around May or so, April or May, we should have the draft list. So a little bit of waiting for them.
Is there any other questions? Committee? All right, thank you, Jose Luis, and I understand you have the next item as well.
Yes, this next item is going to sound similar.
Yeah, the local partnership program formulaic project.
That's
nomination.
Right. So you heard me talk about the local partnership program, and And that program basically has two parts, formulaic and competitive. The competitive, we get the special privilege of being one of the few, or the small group of the small club that gets to apply for the LPP competitive. Formulaic, this is money that we just get. We receive this money from the state as a special reward for being a self-help county. It's to incentivize other counties to go to follow in our footsteps, and it's to reward us for taxing ourselves to pay for transportation. Next slide. Now, the policy board action that was taken was to go ahead and program about 4 years worth of funding at a total of 4.6 million. That's 4,567,000 of local partnership program formulaic funds to the State Route 132 West project, specifically the interchange, the 99-132 interchange. Next slide. Okay, so some of this is going to be familiar. This is not the competitive. We get this money in 2-year tranches. The first 2 years, 23 and 24, look different than the second 2 years, 23, 24, and 24, 25, look different than the next set of 2 years, 25, 26, and 26, 27. And that's because there's an adjustment that happens. There's a little bonus pot of money that the CTC keeps in reserve in case someone adopts a new self-help tax. And if they do, that county immediately gets this one-time bonus amount of money for adopting a self-help, becoming a self-help county. If none do, then that money gets redistributed to us. So we see a bump up happening in the prior 2 years, 23, 24, and 24, 25. And we may see a bump up like that in 25, 26, and 26, 27. These are sort of estimates. Anyways, we're programming against these estimates. The first 2 years are actuals, and the next 2 years are estimates. Again, total is 4,567,000. Next slide. Oh, I should stop here. Sorry, go back. These dollars do have deadlines associated with them. And while they seem a little ways out, they can sneak up fast because this is the deadline for getting them allocated to projects that can match these funds at 1-to-1, that are ready to go, that meet all the criteria. So we took this to the policy board recommending swift action. Next slide. So methodology. Again, to find the best projects, we looked at how we've done things in the past, and we have followed our Measure L strategic plan as our playbook. Back in 21-23, we directed 4.4 million to State Route 132 West. And before that, in 19, we directed 2.5 million to the State Route 99 Fulkerth interchange. These were the top priority projects for Measure L per the strategic plan. Next slide. The guidelines are a little more flexible for formulaic. Basically, it just has to be any project that we nominate that we can have 1-to-1 match. It needs to be ready to go by those schedules. It's really our own rules that dictate how we spend these funds, and that's our Measure L strategic plan. The updated strategic plan and the prior strategic plan both said that our #1 priority for these sorts of funds is State Route 132 West. But there's 2 State Route 132 West underway right now. There is the Dakota to the Gates kind of extension of 2 lanes, and then there's the State Route 99 132 interchange. So we have 2 options per the strategic plan of where to put those funds. It's a little bit in the weeds, but we're going to go into those weeds because that's why we're here, folks. I want to explain why the State Route 132 interchange is the best way to program the Measure L funds, the LPP funds, because of how it frees up our Measure L funds. Next slide. And before I even jump into this table, in fact, let's back up because this table is going to complicate things a little bit. I like to give a little bit of an analogy. I didn't do this for the policy board, but here, I want you guys to understand how this sort of funding works. It may someday be something that our local agencies, our transit operators need to do. Our Measure L funds are our funds to program, to spend, and use. They're pretty flexible because they belong to us. But these LPP funds are not so flexible. They belong to the CTC, even though they have open guidelines. They have deadlines by which to use them. Cost savings is problematic. They only can be used kind of for final spending. You have to have a total funding plan. So the way I think of using our funds is if you've ever had to go reserve a picnic table or put your name in at a restaurant and you send a friend in advance and they put some coats over some chairs, that sort of thing. Our Measure L funds work like that. We can put funds on a project and say, hey, this project has some funding. We'd like to go get more funding. And we can use those Measure L funds to go leverage other sources of funding. Later on, though, if we're able to get enough sources of funding for a transportation project, we can later pull our Measure L funds off and use it for the next project or the next phase. And that is how we are going to, that's how we're proposing using the funds here. It's going to go kind of, it's going to go ahead of our project to go save the space. Next slide. So here's what's going on. The left side is the current programming and the right side is proposed programming. Tables like this can be a little overwhelming, so I'm going to just take it one row at a time, one column at a time. So the top kind of chunk of funding, the top left, is current funding for State Route 132, the interchange. Currently, for the environmental design, there's 14.2 million, has state funds, which are Regional Improvement Program, State Transportation Improvement Program. You probably heard of RIPSTIP. We have our Measure L funds, and we have those LPP formulaic funds from prior years. That's helping to pay for our environmental design, which is the environmental is clear, the design is mostly done. We are in right-of-way. Right-of-way is the next kind of chunk of funding down that totals 25.138 million. That right-of-way, we have 12.6 million of Measure L funds programmed to it that we are spending down. We have 3.2 million, again, of that prior LPP formulaic funds. We have some COVID STIP funds that came to us back during the COVID days, and we were successful at getting a $7 million earmark to pay for right-of-way. Now, you know what, and then construction is just zeros. There's no money set aside for construction for the interchange. It's $256 million to build it, and we're working on a plan to pay for it. It would be nice to take that zero and have some money out there for construction that we can use to leverage other dollars. So now we go to the next column, no changes to the environmental design funding. It stays there at 14.2 million with no changes. But what we took to the board and proposed was that we drop the Measure L funds from 4.6 down to 8 million and change. And we increase the LPP funds from 3.2 up to 7.7 million. That's basically, if you're fast with math, that's 4.56 million, increasing on the LPP and decreasing from Measure L. The other funding remains the same. And by doing this, we're able to take that Measure L money and move it to the next phase, to construction, 4,567,000. A little side benefit for this is we're going to start being tight on Measure L funds, and we're going to have to consider bonding. This actually delays some of the pain for at least 4.567 million of Measure L funds, and it allows us to spend the state money down sooner. So basically, it's a moving of money where we take LPP now and move our Measure L to later. Next slide. And these are the questions. I'll take any questions.
Does the committee members have any questions? Are there any questions from the public? Do you have any questions, Rob?
I'm not hearing any questions. Is it right if I add just one other thing?
Yeah, you can go ahead. There's Ron has something, but
Oh,
go ahead.
great.
Jose. You can go ahead and add, Jose Luis.
Oh, what I was going to add is I did want to send my apologies. Normally, I would be there in person for this. I was not expecting to be presenting to the STAC, and I booked a personal appointment here in Sacramento for the 11 o'clock hour. I really appreciate you guys moving up my 2 items and allowing me to be remote for these presentations.
Yeah, Ron McMurtry here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year, Director Caceres. You just made a little quick comment in the competitive, I think it was the competitive part of your presentation. And the North County corridor, You said a funny thing. You said you don't know why they rejected it. Do you ever get feedback about like what's weak about your proposal so you can do better ones in the future? Or is it, you just,
Absolutely. This is actually standard practice in the transportation funding world. The California Transportation Commission will meet with local agencies in between their funding rounds to give feedback. And they will look over the applications in detail and meet with the reviewers and get their notes. And they usually do a pretty good job of providing candid feedback on why a project wasn't successful. They will also do the same and give feedback on why a project was successful. And we use this to help us apply for projects or reapply for projects.
yeah, obviously, that's what I was asking. Yeah. Okay.
In
So
this
you
case,
just don't happen to know why,
in,
just off the
in
top of
this,
your head. That's what you were saying then.
yeah, in this case, the North County Corridor went ahead and got full funding and was already out on its way out to construction at the time. So there wasn't really a need to go get the feedback on that.
Oh,
But we did shop these two project proposals to the CTC, and they're much different types of projects than the North County Corridor. At the CTC, there is apprehension about spending competitive funding like the LPP program on road capacity projects, unless they can really make the case for how they're consistent with the governor's mandates.
all right. Thank you, Director Caceres.
Is there any more, anyone else have any questions on the committee? All right, thank you, Jose Luis.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I have to leave, but thank you for having me at your meeting.
And we're going to move to the next discussion item, and I think you're on, Gene. In the Measure L annual report.
Pass out. Okay, thank you so much. I just passed out, and Naisha helped me pass out the 23-24 Measure L annual report. I'm really proud to bring this to you this year. This report does take considerable amount of time. We work with the local agencies on what they want to put forward in the annual report, and we go through all our financials. So it is a good bit of work. So what I'm going to do, this is a verbal report, is just walk you through the report, and I'll trigger you with what pages that we're looking at. Lastly, before we get into that, this report is still in a draft format. It will be going to our policy board next week, where we hope that it will be accepted. And at that point, then it will be a final. So I have them have draft on here, and if you look on the front page, it says revision December 26, 2024, just so that there's a way to distinguish, because the report is going to look exactly the same, and without something like this, you would not know which one you were looking at, a draft or a final. Yes, yeah, and then when we redo it and take it to the policy board, that will all be off. And so I just want you to know it's still a draft until they approve it. So if you turn to page 7, let's start there. Here we see the revenues and expenses or expenditures for the year. You can see that a total of 60.4 million were received this year for Measure L, and then 50.5 million was expended. And so essentially that's looking good on for us and for our jurisdictions, because they're pretty close to evening out the revenues and expenditures, which is what we would like to have happen. But there are some cases, especially for the smaller agencies, such as like Newman or Houston, some of these smaller jurisdictions that don't get a lot of Measure L money, and they really have to be very careful on how they spend their money, will save their Measure L funds year after year so that they can leverage other funds with it to complete a project. Because if they're only getting a couple of million, let's just say they're getting a couple million a year, but their project is 10 million. So they can save their money and use their Measure L to leverage other federal or state funds, and then they can go forward with their project. And so that's what we see for some of the smaller agencies. So now turning to page 10, bless you. We start looking at some of the local projects. And I want to point out one that is, I think, really important for us as folks in transit and transportation. And that's at the top left, the City of Modesto Paradise Road area, safer streets for walking and biking. So this work was done right by Modesto High School. I know Adam knows a lot about this project because Stan RTA was involved in it, but you can see the students on the left where it says before. There's just no, there's nothing there to really guide them on where they should be walking. And then you go over to the after and you can see there's a considerable difference in how the students are walking in and accessing this school. So the work on this project included the pavement resurfacing, ADA curb ramp upgrades, striping, signage, lighting, rapid flashing beacons, pedestrian islands, raised speed cushions, and quite a bit more to make it so that this was a safer way for our students to get to school. So this is just one of the many. Each city or jurisdiction has their own little showcase of a project. They get to choose which one that they want to go forward. So you could read through that. I don't want to go through every one with you. So now if we go to page 25, we start looking, let me see if I can get up there. 25, now we're looking at the regional projects, what Jose Luis was sort of talking about just a minute ago, like the State Route 132, the North County Corridor, and then all the other modifications to State Route 99, the interchanges at Mitchell and Service, at Briggsmore and Stanford, and the Briggsmore interchange. So if you think about that for a second, there is an awful lot of work for the Highway 132, and then also for some of these interchanges off of Highway 99. And anyone coming in or out of this city knows what it is, especially I use Stanford, Briggsmore all the time. And it's, I don't know, I don't want to even say what it is, but anyway, this will all be super helpful to make the flow of traffic better for everyone. So then now we go to page 29 and we have the transit operators and move here. The revenue and expenses that you all receive, you can see is just not really the same as what we're giving the cities because they're getting a different pot of money than the transit gets. And so this is just a showcase of transit for this year. And so with that, it concludes my report. I would be happy to take any questions or answer anything you might have.
Is there any questions from the public? You have anything wrong?
Yeah, so we'll keep that because of the year. It's for FY 23-24. So that's why you see the current board members. But yes, next year will reflect the board members that are coming in. But thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the?
Like a great report, Gene, so great work on it.
Thanks.
I want to share, it is fantastic. Good job, Director Valletta. And it looks different than last year's,
Yeah, the consultants, we got a new consultants Convey Inc. who are helping us with our Measure L campaign in general. And I personally like the way it looks. It looks to me a little bit cleaner and sharper. the prior looked a little bit cartoonish, and we did try very hard to listen to some of the comments and concerns that we got, especially from the Measure L Oversight Committee, on how the information was portrayed, and changed the way we put information, especially with the figures of money, into this report so anybody could understand what we meant. Last year, we had a lot of people saying, well, how come your expenditures are this high, and how come, so it just wasn't cohesive to people off the street. And this is meant for the general public, so it has to be something that anybody can understand.
Well, it's a move in the right direction, and it looks fantastic. I think it's going to represent the efforts great, and also I think that the community, and the citizens that are contributing to this through their tax dollars are going to be very happy to receive something like this. It's easily digestible. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
It showed the projects, and it showed where the money was going, the expenditures and revenues.
Yeah,
So,
it's
great
so
job.
important for the public to know, 'cause this is their tax dollars. And so it is important for them to understand how their money is being spent. And so that's the purpose of this. And the whole Measure L campaign is so that we don't get comments like, how are you spending my tax dollars? You can look at this and say, this is what you see. To me, the most compelling one, especially for this group again, was the Modesto High one, because it involved children getting in and out of school, so.
Modesto High is going to be transferring the students the portables that were on the other side
Uh-huh.
onto the main campus. So
Oh.
they're not going to be crossing the street anymore
Okay,
from in the next year or so.
good to know. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we got the next item, Director Folletta, and it's unmet needs process and the kickoff.
Okay, next slide, please. So there, what a pretty bus. This is what we do every year, the unmet transit needs process. This unmet needs process leads us into not only understanding from the public needs for transportation and transit services in our community, but also leads us as the transit operators and move in preparing our budgets, because the budgets that they have, the unmet transit needs can sometimes focus on and could possibly change the way they're thinking of spending their money. But I'll go over that in just one moment. So next slide. Another picture of that bus. Anyway, so STANCOG and the Transportation Development Act, or TDA. So the TDA law requires that we do this unmet transit needs process once a year. Actually, just way of background, it also, and the TDA law also requires us to have a STAC. Every agency getting TDA funds, like the MPOs, must have a STAC. They don't have to meet every month or every other month or any of that, but they must meet at least once a year as part of this process. So anyway, what that means is we have to do one public hearing. We have to do outreach, and the outreaches should be focused on, again, hearing from the general public, the populations that are using the different services, on what they think we could do better. Then we need, after we get all that information and we start analyzing it, we prepare a report, and in that report, we determine if there are any transit needs that are reasonable to meet. And the example of one such unmet transit need, which I always use, is the forming of MOVE. MOVE was formed through this process by some older seniors. Jenny Canoyer and Mickey Peabody were two of the big ones there that wanted door-through-door service for their population, for people that couldn't get out of their homes, whether they be a senior or not, get out of their home and access transportation services. Next slide. So our bylaws state that we annually participate in the identification of transit needs in the jurisdiction and whether or not they be reasonable to meet. I just saw that slide went a little sideways, so I apologize for that. It's not on my paper that way, but something to know. Anyway, so this, I'm not going to read it all to you, but it just shows you what our bylaws are. Next slide. And so that was number one. Number two is that we recommend, review and recommend the actions by STANCOG for the area, for the jurisdictions which finds by resolution. And then again, it goes into the unmet transit needs. If there is an unmet transit need that is found reasonable to meet, like we did with MOVE, then that gets funded before anything else. And that's why we have to go through this process as part of the transit cost sharing, which is what we do here in this county to identify funds for the transit agencies and MOVE. So let's just say that we found another, let's just say we found a unmet need for, you know, something, maybe service into the Bay Area that we're not providing for whatever reason. I think we do a great job with that, but let's just say that we found something like that, that we had a petition. A lot of people I've seen in other jurisdictions use petitions. When I was in the city of Elk Grove, we had a senior housing that wasn't getting bus service to the Walmart. We made a loop for them. So there's a lot of different ways that this can happen. It could be really not very expensive to comply with, or it can be a little bit more. So anyway, that is how you determine reasonable to meet. And then lastly on that, we always get comments that people, and here's my other spiel, they want to go to Disneyland on Saturdays. They want a bus to go to Disneyland on Saturdays. So that's just not going to happen. That is unreasonable to me. So that's how you make those sort of determinations. But we do take in every single comment. We look at them, and then we meet with the transit operators. If there's something reasonable to meet, then we meet with them and discuss that as part of our transit cost sharing. Next slide. So this year, we're going to try really hard to maximize our outreach efforts. We have in the past done a lot of going to the different jurisdictions and presenting at city councils and places like that, but it's really not the way, as I think most of us know, really to reach people. So we're going to focus on virtual outreach through social media. We want to work with STAN, RTA, MOVE, and Turlock to provide updates to their community. So if we do a post, we'll share that with STAN, RTA, and with Turlock and MOVE so that they can post any of our social media stuff. And then again, like they did last year, MOVE has agreed to hand out the flyers that we have. You see an example of that flyer up there. It will be produced in English and Spanish. And they'll be handing those out as part of their travel training services. So that's very, very important to us, and we're very, very thankful for them to help us with this. Next slide. So then what's next? We compile, we get all our comments, we compile them, we establish if there's anything reasonable to meet, and we prepare an analysis report is what we call it. And then we take that to the policy board for approval. Once that's done, then the funds are distributed. Generally, that is in about the June timeframe. Next slide. So here's an example of UTN definitions. I sort of went over that already, so I'm not going to belabor that one. Next slide. So that is it. I would be happy to take any questions.
Any public comment for Director Ferletta? Yeah, come on up.
Thank you for your presentation, Director Folletta. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. So my concern is that we try to. It's good if our outreach is an improvement over last year, so that we might get some interesting. Oh, this. Yeah, we should do this or something. But we didn't have unmet transit needs last year. So if there, I just wondering if there's any kind of project you can think of that would be a gray area that, well, we want to apply for the funding if we can. And I guess my first question is, who approves? Is it the policy board that decides what's reasonable?
We make a recommendation to the policy board, and then they ultimately have to approve it. But before we did do that, we would compile, like I said, all the questions together, and then we would bring it to our transit operators, and we would discuss it. For instance, the one example that I used earlier about when I was in Elk Grove, and there was a senior community that we missed a loop around lunchtime to take them from their senior housing complex over to the Walmart. So that was a reasonable to meet comment, but it didn't really change anything as far as financing goes. So we just did it. We just did it as part of our everyday work. So we would bring that to the team here. And for instance, if it was in Stan RTA's purview, maybe they can make the adjustment. They just didn't know about it. Maybe they can make the adjustment. It's not going to cost them a lot. But knowing transit, if somebody or a group of people wanted, let's say, late night service or another loop at night, that gets expensive. Anytime you add even one loop, it gets very, very expensive to do. So then Stan RTA, and we would need to discuss how that goes and how we could meet that if we got enough comments that said the same thing. We can't get just one single comment that says, I want a loop at 10 o'clock at night over here. That's not enough. But if we got 5, 10 people saying the same thing, then we really need to look at it and whether or not it's reasonable.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering if there's something that you guys thought, well, we don't have anything urgent or really like, oh, we really should do this, but this is not an unreasonable idea that since you don't have anything else, you don't want to, you want to request something if that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just urge, just so you know, I would urge people just to make their comment. It gets filed, it's in the report, and then part of what we do with the report too, which I really like and I hadn't seen anywhere but here, is we keep, as part of the report, we keep the past 2 years of the comments. So if we keep hearing over and over and over again the same comment, then it's something we need to consider as reasonable to meet as well.
Okay. And I know that you exist and this committee exists. How could I just email somebody with my comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, you can email unmettransitneeds@stancog.org. I can write that down for you before you leave, but that's an active email throughout the year that I monitor.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. And then my last thing regarding the outreach, I already brought this up to you, but I just want this on the public record. I assume, again, as last year, you're going to coordinate some of your outreach with the transit agencies for efficiency's sake.
Really with MOVE, because the folks from MOVE are already on the buses, training people how to use the buses. They're the perfect group to get really down with the people riding the bus, because they're there every day. They see who's riding. They pass out the flyers for us. It's hard, having been in operations, to ask an operator to do that, because their job is to drive the bus, not to hand out flyers. But MOVE, they have a little bit more of a window, if you will, where they could do that for us. And that's why we're grateful for them to do that, because it's very time consuming.
So you're going to find that's more effective than the Turlock and Stan RTA transit agencies to participate, coordinated outreach to save money, time, personnel.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that what we want to do is be reasonable with the resources that we have. I mean, like I said, with the Turlock and Stan RTA, we'll put flyers on the buses, things like that. And so they'll cooperate with us as much as they possibly can, but there's a limit to what they can do simply because, you know, they're in the same situation. But again, Move is already out there on the buses, riding the buses every day. And so they're just perfect. And the Care Cruiser folks could give it out too. So, yeah.
Currently, Ron, we, as far as our program's concerned, we engage in that type of task almost every day.
Great.
And particularly our care cruisers, they do, you know, the drivers. So this would just be an additional component, you know, as part of what we do. So, and, you know, and I think our outreach is good. We typically, they try to hit every place that they can. And so, but we'll work with Director Folletta and make sure that we coordinate our efforts in a way to create efficiency as well.
Cool. All right. Well, sounds like, yeah, you had, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it seems like over the last 2 years, you've gotten better and better outreach.
Yeah,
It looks like
we're-
we're going to have an improvement this year too.
Yeah, we're trying just really hard to be efficient with our time here too. But thank you, Mohammed.
I have a question. You know how drivers are only allowed to drive like 10 hours a day?
Mhm.
Is that like a StanCog thing or is that like a,
It's federal, right? Yeah,
uh,
there's laws
oh, okay.
that I'll let Adam speak to that because I can't remember it all. But yeah, there's laws.
It's federal law that drivers, it's same with truck drivers, bus drivers in the it's the same category. They're only able to drive a certain number of hours per day before getting 8 hours of rest or 10 hours of rest. Depends.
Because I just actually was on the Metavan about a month ago where where the driver ran out of drive time and we were in Livermore and they had to bring out a different driver to finish out the route.
Oh,
So I was wondering, is there a way that they can, like, for like certain routes, send out two drivers on a bus? This way, one driver drives one way, and then one driver drives the other way. Like,
you could, but it's better that the driver knows how many hours they have for that day to drive, and if they realize that they don't have enough, they shouldn't have started in the
Yeah.
first place. So that's something I can bring up with,
Yeah.
with our contractor.
The coordination thing, I think, but whatever. Okay. I do have one left. Oh, sorry. You have more, Mohammed? Member Rashid? You have more? Okay, sorry. I just had this one last thing. I already talked to you about that, Director Folletta, but regarding social media, Vice Mayor Riki kind of commented during a Stan RTA meeting that they kind of are out of date on what the latest social media is and what the typical person uses. So as I already suggested to you before, please make use of him regarding the appropriate social media that would reach the most people. We want to be effective on this outreach, and the social media landscape changes rapidly. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Folletta. And next item is Transit Manager Report. So I'll let you go, Adam, and you have anything? Well, I have several things. You know, Move will be, well, actually, we're currently advertising for a travel trainer. And we've been advertising for the last 60 days. And so hopefully we'll be able to secure someone for that. And we have one travel trainer, it'll be an additional travel trainer. The other thing that we're advertising for, and we just posted the advertisement last week, is for a router driver. And so those positions are both on our webpage.
What is it? A route?
A router driver. Because what we're looking at is that we really want to expand the reach of our Care Cruises program, and one of our major needs is the routing component. However, we're going to be transitioning into technology with EcoLane, and we think that when we do that, it's going to reduce the staffing need. And so we want to parlay that into a driver. So that's why we have it and at their hybrid role. So, but our intent is really to, increase the reach and provide greater opportunities for people to access our services by having more drivers. The other thing that we did is that we have just entered in, well, last month, we entered into a contract with a company called 329, and they're out of Sacramento. And they're going to help us with that. We're doing a website upgrade. And so we're going to have a kickoff meeting on this Thursday. But what the intent is that we want to maximize our website where we could do a lot of different things there. That we provide instructional or basically presentations about what travel training looks like, that our Bridges program, people can actually build that program through the web page, and then other functionality. So we're really excited about that. And the last thing, and it's going to be going out today, and we are engaged in a strategic planning process with Trinova Consultants. And today, I believe sometime today, an email is going to go out to a list of stakeholders. And Adam, you're on that, as well as Eugene and many others. And basically what is going to evolve is the email from me, basically introducing the strategic planning process and our determination to find opportunities and where we can improve the services that we provide. And it will be Tom Quartz, he is the consultant we're working with. And part of what we're asking our partners to do, and they're all value partners, is to participate in a 10 to 20-minute interview to gather feedback. And then the next stage would basically bringing that back, and then management and the board will look at what the themes are, and we'll come up with a plan that we anticipate will be published by March, hopefully. So that's my last update. Any questions on any of that? Great. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I said I didn't have a report, but I actually do, and I should have mentioned this before, but in November, the Standard TA was actually awarded the Transit Agency of the Year award by the California Transit Association. So it was very.
Congratulations. Yeah, I saw that also.
I
Congratulations.
should have mentioned that before. I mean, it's a big deal for the agency, but it was a couple months ago. So, but I realized that we don't meet here very often. So, anyway, it's a great honor for the Standard RTA to get that as a statewide competitive process. There are a lot of different applications for this award. A lot of great contenders throughout the state, and it was great to get the Standard RTA recognized for the great work that it's done with the consolidation of two systems, and we're seeing great work on the system. A lot of people in the system, more than we've seen in many years. So it's great. Definitely appreciate the support of StanCog and Gene and the STAC as well. So thanks.
Well, I just want to tell you congratulations, Director Barth, and it has a lot to do with you too. A testament of your leadership, and I just love seeing those blue buses. I see them out there, and they're just beautiful. And so it's great to have that recognition here, with all those other providers that are out there. And so it really speaks volumes for you and your team, and congratulations. And so we applaud you.
Thank you.
All right. Caltrans is not here. Any management reports?
No, none today. I do want to remind you that there was a report you wanted to give regarding under
Oh, yeah.
member.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I have nothing else.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Any members' reports? All right. And thank you for that reminder. I think that I need those. I write notes to myself, so I don't know if you guys do that. I'll think of something, I'll write it down and come back at it. But yeah, there is, we noticed that we have, the committee is small, and we would really like to expand it. And I did do a little research on that, on what we're required to have, and we have the minimum. And so my questions for you, Director Floretta, how do we go about trying to secure people to fill those other roles?
Yeah, so I hope you know that the STAC is now scheduled to meet quarterly. We'll be meeting quarterly. So that, and we'll have meetings Can we make sure Josie sends them the schedule?
Yes, I believe she sent it out, but I'll make sure she sends
Okay.
another one out just to
Okay.
follow up.
Yeah. So what that will do for us, because what happens is we have, as you know, we have all these standing committees and they're meeting every month. And sometimes there's only a couple of people and then we end up canceling because we have nothing we don't want to bring you here unless we have something tangible for you to hear. And so now that we're meeting quarterly, that will free up a huge amount of time. Because if you all know, and Mohammed, you've been around the block, so you know how much time it takes to prepare these reports, these packets. It's a lot of work. So what we're hoping will happen is now that we're meeting on a quarterly basis with not only just the STAC, but with some of the other committees, we'll have the opportunity to go out and work in the public eye and bring in people that are interested. For instance, one is the Area Agency on Aging. We haven't been there for a while. I know MOVE goes there quite a bit, but there could be somebody, there used to be someone from the Area Agency on Aging on the STAC quite a long time ago when I first came here, Margie Palomino. But throughout time, she no longer is on. We used to have someone from the regional center, and it's been very difficult to try and find someone from the regional center. Maybe you could help us with that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I got contacts there. I
Yeah,
got with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we used to have Wilma Murray, if you remember her, and
Yeah, she passed away.
yeah, and she was just wonderful. I worked with her in San Joaquin County. So it's people like that. And then we had a representative from Howard Training,
Yeah.
and then nobody stood up there. So we really, what we need, and if you look at the composition of this group, it's people that represent, you know,
Yeah.
persons with disabilities and seniors and providing transportation services. So I know we can get more people. We just have to do a sort of a targeted effort for this group and for a couple others because we just don't have enough. Not that we don't appreciate your time because we absolutely do, but we do need to hear from
Yes.
wider, broader. It would be nice to hear from. You know, there's a senior community in Patterson. It would be nice to hear from them or. Adam, I can't remember the name, but Angela coordinates with some of the little Macs. Yeah, and so maybe now that we're doing this, we can be out there in the community and ask people like that to come in.
Well, I have no problem helping you on that, and I can
We'll
send you
take
some
it.
names, and I think I can make some headway at the regional center.
That
I
would
know
be
a lot of the
wonderful.
folks there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because if you think about it, who, like in travel training, who are you training? It's folks from the regional center, a lot of people from the regional center. They really should be. When I was up in Stockton and worked in mobility, I went to all the regional center meetings. Wilma came to all of ours. So that would be,
Right.
we would take any help.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna help you out with that.
Thank you.
So, all righty. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, well, the meeting's adjourned, and then we'll see you next quarter.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
What I'll do is